or text us 423-614-6499. You'll be entered.
All righty, Austin, Jimmy Logan already here, so we're going to head straight into our Logan Thompson segment here, and he has a special guest here with him. Good morning.
Good morning, Bridget and Austin. You're just fabulous. I tell you, if you switched chairs, you'd have thought that it was the same broadcast.
Yeah.
You and Bridget do a great job.
Bridget does it a lot better, that's for sure.
No. Hey, what a great morning it is outside. I got out and walked around the block where I'm now residing on a temporary basis. But gosh, Bridget, I'm so excited because Larry Puckett has decided that he's going to try to help us learn how to practice law better as he comes back to work, and he's going to be with us at Logan Thompson. Larry, thank you for joining us this morning, and thank you so much for joining Logan Thompson.
Well, it's a great opportunity, Jim. You know, I've been retired from the circuit court bench here in the 10th Judicial District for 4 years. So I decided it was time for me to try to get back in the practice of law as of counsel at Logan and Thompson. And so it was a great opportunity. I thank you very much and look forward to it. And so it's certainly a privilege for me.
Well, Larry, you've always been a great part of our community. You're so active in so many good things. And Bridget, it's as wonderful a singer as you are. This guy knows how to sing. He does. Broad Street United Methodist Church, and he sings in the choir.
Right. Well, you know, I always say anybody needs to find me, they can always find me on Sunday morning. They can figure out where I'm going to be in that choir, and then on Wednesday night in the choir practice. So, you know, I have a pretty much of a routine, but I love the Broad Street. I love being members there with my wife and I, and so we're blessed. We've got lots of wonderful churches in this town, and good relationships with everyone. And but yes, it's a big part of our lives. Place of service, just as your firm will be a place of service for me.
Well, Larry, that's something, as you know, our slogan about a tradition of excellence and community concerns. We've done that for years, and you have that same individual personality, and that's one of the things you're going to bring to us and let us continue our tradition of service to our community.
You know, I think back when I first went to law school in 1977 over in Memphis. The reason I went was because I was curious. I did not know how things worked. And I knew that if I would understand the law, I would know how society worked. And so that same curiosity, after really I haven't done any legal practice since I went on the bench in late 1997 and retired in 2021, 4 years ago this month. But you know, I stepped away from being a circuit judge, but then all of a sudden my identity as an attorney came back to me, that I'm still a lawyer and I still have something to offer. And that's a desire I had, and that curiosity I had. So, you know, if you hand me a file or you ask me a legal question or an issue, it's impossible for me not to want to go, we call it LexisNexis, and do the research, find out what the law is that applies to those facts. A lot of the same functions I did as a judge I wrote a lot of opinions in cases which required me to go through the same process. And so it translates over very well, I think, into being an of counsel status with the Logan Law Firm.
Well, Larry, you know, there's something going to take place, as I understand it, here in the next few days. There's a guy named Tom, his last name's Greenleaf, is that?
Greenholtz.
Greenholtz.
Down in Chattanooga. But he's from Chattanooga, but he's on the Court of Criminal Appeals.
Yes, but he and some other folks are putting together what?
They're going to have a seminar on the Scopes trial. Now, I went to Bryan College, met my wife there at Bryan College, and we both graduated from Bryan. So I have a connection with Dayton. So our friends in Dayton, and I've had a connection with the college ever since I graduated. And I was on the Board of Trustees for 30 years there. But, Jim, one of the things you and I were talking about, I'm going to put a plug in for the Tennessee State Museum. And why is that? Well, they're having an exhibit of photographs from the trial. And Patty and I collected these photographs. And they've been acquired by the Tennessee State Museum. So if you go on the website, there's 151 photographs, which are old newspaper photographs. These were out of the archives of the newspapers that covered that trial in 1925. And the exhibit is going to run from June 24th through October the 12th this year. And now they've acquired other things relating to the trial, one of which is the table where the people sat when they got together and they cooked up the idea they'd have a test case out of the Scopes, convinced Scopes to say that he had taught the theory of evolution, which contravened the law in Tennessee that forbade the teaching of any theory of creation that was inconsistent with the Genesis account. So that was the law that was being tested. So, but I'm delighted that the Tennessee State Museum has those photographs. It's theirs. They are theirs now. But they've done a wonderful job. If you go on the website, you can see all 150. They, being newspaper photographs, they might have been that came out during the trial. Then later, 10 years later, you'd see a stamp on there where they reissued them and published them, and they were in the newspaper again. And a lot of times there's text on the back of those photographs that identify who was pictured and the setting of it. But those photographs start from before the trial, during the trial, and then after the trial. So it's just a great opportunity for all of us to look back at history.
And history is still in the making, isn't it, Judge? That's one of the things about the practice of law, as you know, Bridget. We deal with issues as the issues present themselves factually, but it is a full understanding of those facts and how the interplay between facts results in, hopefully, justice,
Amen.
Fairness, fair treatment of the people of our community in our courts. And I sometimes have some concerns about the rest of the country. Bridget I know a lot of people voice those concerns today. But in Bradley County and in the 10th Judicial District, Larry's old district, justice is our goal in every instance. And we strive to cause justice to be shown front and center.
Right. One of the things I did was, as a judge, was review the state constitution, and we have a provision in our state constitution that the citizens of this state have a right to justice as a matter of law. Everybody has a right to justice, and so, of course, how do you get justice when you're in the middle of a controversy? Well, you go to a lawyer, tell them your side of things, and then somebody else is going to their lawyer, telling them their side of things. You go in front of a court, tell the court what your sides are, then they make a decision, and then, there's an appellate process. Courts are busy, courts are human, and so they are prone to err, and can err very, very often, but be corrected. And it's a wonderful backstop to go to the Court of Appeals, and we have a wonderful Court of Appeals, by the way. I enjoyed working and having my cases that I decided reviewed by the Court of Appeals. Have a lot of confidence in them to help. As a trial judge, you're going through the record, you're hearing the record for the first time, and it's being made in your court. They get benefit of 3 justices, and sometimes the Supreme Court 5, I suppose, all sit. They review a cold record, which is made by the trial court, and then they have their legal staff of assistants to go through that and make sure that we get the facts right. The judge decides the facts, or the jury does, and make sure the jury or the judge decide those facts correctly based on what they see, and then make sure that the applicable law, and law is a matter of competing principles. And one lawyer is going to champion one set of principles and say, those apply to these facts, Your Honor. And the other side will say, no, wait a minute. These over here apply, and that means that my client is in the better position. And the Court of Appeals or Supreme Court straightens that out. So we have a wonderful system of justice. Civil justice was what I did. I didn't do criminal justice work. We divided our work up but I did a lot of domestic relations and, of course, tort law and contracts and things like that.
One of the things that Larry is sharing with us is in that controversy, the decision is the desire of you as a judge was, and our desire is, to take the law and obtain, to the extent that we can, a fair and just resolution of the issues which exist. Now, Bridget, Larry coming to be with us is just, we think at Logan Thompson, a great addition to being able to learn from a judge the process of making a decision on a particular case. And so that's what we hope to achieve. I think we're going to do better than ever. As you know, Logan Thompson is the largest law firm between Chattanooga and Knoxville, and we try cases around the country. Folks, thank you for participating in our efforts outside of the courtroom to make this an ever better place to live and work and play. Bridget, thank you for keeping Steve out of here this morning.
You're welcome. You're all welcome. It's Jimmy Logan Thompson, introducing to us Judge Larry Puckett. What a great addition to your team, as you mentioned, and we appreciate you bringing him in this morning.
Well, we're glad to be with you, and I don't know where Steve is yet, but I'll find him before the end of the day.